Well, hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the stream. Oh. Alexa, stop. Funny, isn't it, when you welcome people onto the stream and your musical playing device widget picks up. That's hilarious. Anyway, welcome. It's great to have you guys here. If you don't know who I am, my name is Wayne Hackman, aka Whackstar. And I'm really very excited today because, all being well, the great and wonderful Starship that Elon Musk is going to build is going to launch today. We tried this on, when was it? Tuesday. Let's bring me up where I should be. Come on then, up we come. We tried this on Tuesday, and it didn't go quite so well. So anyway, not to worry, we are hopefully going to launch today. So I've even got, if we have a look at this, we've got our live coverage of what's going on the launch pad there. This is Boca Chica in Texas, where you can see the mighty Starship, and the Super Heavy is ready. And that frosty area that you can see on that you can see on the base part of the rocket there, that's the frost that's building up because of the propellant is being put in and is being super cold. Let me bring myself up into the top right hand corner so you can see what's going on. This is obviously a stream from NSF. So yeah, I'm really hoping that it's going to be successful today. I'll be really pleased if it is. Let's have a little look at some of the other stuff that's going on. So the weather today in Boca Chica is 24 degrees Celsius. Seems that there is a southeasterly wind of 13 kilometers an hour, which gusts up to 21. So I don't know if that is within SpaceX's limit to launch. Later on the day, I think it gets a bit more extreme. Let's go back to that live. Where is that live camera? There it is. I mean, it's looking visibility. We're going to see it launch. It looks like behind the actual launch pad that there is. It's a bit hazy, but I'm wondering as daylight appears in Boca Chica, things will start to look a bit better. Now, the official SpaceX coverage starts in 4 minutes, and that's what we'll be watching. And that's one thing I have to say about this stream. This is about me reacting to what is the biggest launch or biggest man-made rocket to date. This is quite a phenomenal moment, if I have to be honest, is where good old Elon, has built this. This is a game changer if he gets this off the ground today. And there's no reason why he won't. SpaceX has got incredible legacy now. And, they're launching rockets every few days. Well, it feels like every few days, but certainly once or twice a week. And so they're really doing some remarkable stuff. And of course, obviously, this is a brand new ship. So what I understand from this particular rocket is it's actually not going to come and land like the Starship has in the past. So the bottom bit, if I'm right, will take off and propel itself into orbit, and then there's this moment where the Starship, which is the section at the top, breaks away from the Super Heavy part, or whatever they call it, and then that will return back. But instead of it landing, I think Elon Musk's vision is that this big construction that you can see will catch it in what they call the chopsticks. So if I'm understand correctly, that's not going to happen today. It's going to, maneuver itself out into the middle of the Gulf of Mexico somewhere, and it will, land in the ocean. and then the Starship will go on, and it won't complete a complete orbit of the Earth, but yeah, it will come down. I think it will go up high enough. Then, when it comes back into the Earth's atmosphere, that they'll be able to test all of the heat shielding, which they've got all this heat shielding on the side of the rocket here, I think, and that will, all being well, test it, and then they're going to then also sort of kind of land it into the ocean somewhere near Hawaii. So this complete rocket is disposable, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of what Elon Musk is trying to do with this, or SpaceX is trying to do with it. Let's just go over and have a look at the SpaceX. So 1 minute 30 something or other before the start of the SpaceX live stream. So yeah, so this is a test vehicle. So I suspect they might retrieve parts of it, but I think it's committed to the bottom of the ocean. So we know that it's going to do a hard landing in the ocean, both parts. So nothing is going to come back and land on Earth. This is all about testing its orbit capability. And if it's able to do that, then I guess the next stage of Elon Musk's testing is to send this thing up into space. That the bottom part of the rocket will return and can be reused. The top part of the rocket, does a few orbits or does whatever it needs to do in outer space, and then comes back and also lands. And I'll be intrigued to know if both of them will land at the Boca Chica site. So it is very, very exciting. So you can see the propellant being put into the rocket right now, and that's quite something. So yeah, I'm really excited. I must say, I'm doing this for all reason. Because this is a historic moment. This is the biggest space rocket that has ever been launched into outer space, and potentially is a game changer for turning humanity into a multi-planet species. So anyway, this is not my own footage, I have to say. This is the NSF footage, so I take no credit for this footage. But let's go over and see. We're waiting at the moment for the SpaceX feed. Okay, so it's 1:45 at the moment. When they did this on whenever it was on Monday, I think it was, when we watched this together, they were a bit late. So let's go back to see the whole live footage for this. So I'm hoping that they will launch today. I'll be really, really excited if they do launch. Actually, I'll be really excited if they do launch. It'd just be a remarkable feat. I mean, one of two things happens. It will launch, well, actually one of three things. It will launch and it will do everything that SpaceX wants to do, or it will launch and part of it fails, so whether the top part fails or the bottom part, or it will be a huge explosion on the launch pad, which I don't, for Elon Musk and SpaceX, I hope that doesn't happen, because that will create a huge amount of damage. Very interesting. I think I said this on the stream on Monday, that we went and actually visited NASA in Cape Canaveral last summer. Great experience, something I've wanted to do for many years. We actually saw a Falcon 9 launch, which also was fantastic, and I actually paid a little extra to do the space launch pad tour, and one of those things that's on the launch pad was we went past, I think it's 39A, where obviously that was where 39A and 39B is where the space shuttles took off, and now I think 39A, I might have this in the wrong way, is now leased to SpaceX, where they launch all of the Falcon 9 rockets, both the Man Dragon and also the ones that are used to launch things into outer space, as well as resupply the space station. But they were building this sort of chopstick structure here when we were there, And what surprised me is that actually the person who was giving us the guided tour, we stopped. There's this place where they have these cameras set up that can see, because also the Space Launch System, or the SLS, which is currently to date the biggest rocket ever launched into outer space, but will be superseded by this, is on 39A. And what the lady was saying, she said, if something goes wrong, if this thing explodes on the launch pad, it will create serious damage. And she's really concerned, someone who loves NASA and loves the history of that these two historic 39A and 39B launch pads will be completely destroyed. And of course you don't want that to happen. You don't want that to happen to any place, but also, that's sometimes the price of progress, and that's one of the things I really love about SpaceX, is that fact that they really don't mind. Well, I'm sure they do mind when their spaceships fail. We're still waiting for SpaceX and their live stream. We'll go back and have a look at what's going on. I think that's the SpaceX. Yeah, they're live streaming now, which is fantastic. So I'll put that on. We don't need it quite so loud in the background. SpaceX are live streaming, which is a good sign, which means everything is taking place for launch. Don't know whether or not this is going to launch today. So, like I said, I'm not an expert in this, so we're going to listen to the commentary. I might make some of my own comments if you're watching on the stream, which I really appreciate. We can have a little dialogue. I've got, if we go to our studio here, you can see the studio here. So I've got all the chat coming up on this section here. So by all means, write some stuff in the chat and we can talk together on this as well. So this is just pretty much me documenting my own thoughts, and I'm excited about this. If this works, this is a game changer for humanity. This will be much more much more, what's the word I'm looking for, versatile than the Space Launch System. That's the thing that blew my mind about the whole Space Launch System, is that the entire thing is disposable. That's concerning, because the only bit that comes back is the capsule, and I don't think they can even reuse that capsule either, because obviously it's been through massive thing. Obviously it was amazing watching what NASA did there, but the whole thing is disposable. Whether this, in theory, if this works, the whole thing is reusable, except for obviously this one, which is going to be hard landed into the ocean near Hawaii and somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico. I don't know if we're going to see that. I suspect that once it goes out of visual range, everything else will be done by graphics. I don't know if I'll continue watching at that point, but I'll certainly come back. It may be a scrub again. It may be a scrub, because obviously there's a huge amount of money being going into building this, hundreds of millions of dollars, and they don't want an explosion on the pad. It will take millions of dollars to rebuild the pad. Obviously this whole rocket in some respects is expendable. So it's exciting times. Are we going to see the launch of the SpaceX spaceship? I don't know. I kind of watched all of the launches of just the top part. I'm sure SpaceX will show some of those. I think there was, first couple exploded on the launch pad when they tried to land it, and then the third one did land, I think, and then exploded on the launch pad, and then the fourth one was all good. I seem to remember the third one. Certainly, there were a couple of explosions. And I remember watching the footage of Elon Musk after the first explosion, going to review all that's taken place. I'm excited. I really, really hope this works today, guys. I really, really hope this works today for the sake of SpaceX. I really hope this works. So, if you're on the stream, welcome. It's great to have you here. My name is Wayne Hackman, and like I say, this is my documentation of the biggest space vehicle put into orbit, or certainly put into outer space ever. And as I keep saying, this is a game changer. If this works, this is a game changer. If you're on the stream, say hello. I said earlier that it's all set up on my screen that's just in front of me here, so we can interact, we can have some conversation. I'm by no means a space expert, so I would deeply encourage you, if you don't want to hear my reactions, deeply encourage you to perhaps go over to the SpaceX live stream, which is what this is, with me coupled in, or go and watch the there's a few other amazing space commentators out there. Everyday Astronaut is one that pops into my head. Much more experience, actually. He's amazing. He's going to go into outer space, where they're going to go around the moon, which is phenomenal. So how old am I? I'm 44 years old. I'm hoping that in my lifetime I will see a moon landing. Nathan on the stream, hey, great to have you here. I'm not sure. They funny, I've just read your comment. Any ideas when the intro stops? Well, they've just gone off the SpaceX holding screen and boom, here we go. This is what they did on the launch, or the attempted launch, earlier in the week. Of course, I remember watching all of these successes and failures. Nathan, great to have you as part of the stream today. Really, really appreciate it. If there's anyone else on the stream as well, do say hello on the chat. It just keeps things interesting. Was this the one that landed? Yeah, this was the one that landed. I remember watching this and everyone going absolutely mental. From what I understand, none of these vehicles are going to land back at the site today. The bottom part, that part there, is going to be hard landed into the Gulf of Mexico, and the top part, the Starship bit, will be hard landed into the ocean somewhere near Hawaii. I don't know if we'll see that. We may or may not see that. That'll be awesome if it does happen. So this rocket that we'll see on the launch pad in a minute is in essence disposable, although I don't know if they're going to salvage any of it or they're going to just let it go to the bottom of the ocean. Here we go.
On the screen is a live view of Starship as it awaits its second attempt
33 minutes to go. Let's just have a little listen to the opening commentary. Say hi on the chat if you're with me.
If all goes well, we hope to see our Starship spacecraft and Super Heavy booster, which we collectively call Starship, lift off together for the first time in exactly 33 minutes from now. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kate Tice, Quality Systems Engineering Manager here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California.
And I'm Shiva Bharadwaj, a Space Operations Engineer here at SpaceX. Now, if you've been following along, you'll know that we stood down from our initial launch attempt on Monday. That was due to a frozen pressurization valve on the Super Heavy booster.
SpaceX teams investigated the issue and determined that this valve had some moisture in it, which caused the valve to freeze up when we were loading super chilled liquid oxygen into the booster.
Now, these valves are super important because we actually need a pressurant to go back into the tank as we consume propellant, and we actually use a pressurant that comes from the Raptor engines. It's heated down there and back into the tank. And so a frozen valve there would be a problem during the launch.
Yeah, and that's important. You can think of it like drinking out of a thin plastic water bottle. If you're chugging that water, it crinkles if you don't let air back into it. So we use that hot exhaust gas from the Raptor engines to refill that consumed volume as propellant is depleted.
That's such an amazing view.
It was a great find by the countdown, and that's why we have a countdown, is to allow us to find those issues prior to liftoff. So all of that being said, our team's learned a lot over the last 48 hours, and we are ready to give it another go. As many of you know, Starship is the latest and largest vehicle developed to date by SpaceX. It will be the world's most powerful launch vehicle once fully developed and have twice the thrust of the Saturn V rocket.
That's why I wanted to film this stream.
But the key breakthrough with Starship is that it will be fully reusable and capable of carrying up to 150 metric tons of payload to orbit in a reusable configuration and up to 250 metric tons when expendable.
Now, for context, Falcon 9 is only partially reusable. We recover the largest part of the rocket, that's called the first stage, but we don't recover the second stage. And Falcon 9's heaviest payload to date is just over 17 metric tons. So 150 to 250 metric tons on Starship is an order of magnitude greater in terms of payload capacity. Now, for today's test, we will be the first of many as we work towards transitioning Starship from a developmental into an operational program. And the primary objective today is to gather as much data as we can around the fully integrated vehicle. Now, while we have flown the Starship spacecraft in the past, it is going to be the first attempt of Super Heavy and the first opportunity for us to validate how the two vehicles operate together.
It's the first time they've done it together. They've only tested the top part.
For today's flight, we will consider any data received that helps inform and improve future builds of Starship as a success. From a milestone standpoint, our main goal is to clear the pad. Every milestone beyond that is a bonus. The further we fly, the more data we can collect.
Now, if it does all go well, then we'll expect the Super Heavy to light up its 33 Raptor engines at the base of the vehicle and lift off, clear the pad away down from Starbase in Starbase, Texas, and then it'll go into ascent. About 3 minutes into its ascent, we're going to expect to see Super Heavy separate from the Starship.
If they get it off the ground, that's going to be that critical
and then it'll
moment.
execute a boost back burn, and we're going to be targeting a hard landing in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, it's a shame that they're going to.
Happening, we hope to see Starship's 6 second stage engines ignite and watch as Starship coasts for about an hour at altitudes ranging between 150 and 250 kilometers before re-entering
flying over South Africa, not quite Kenya,
and make its own hard landing in the Pacific Ocean, about 250-ish kilometers offshore.
So I don't know if we're going to see those.
We are not really expecting many camera views after separation. That is to say, if we even make it that far. But we do promise that whatever views we do have, we will bring them to you live.
Yep. We have a couple of ground stations along the way, so if we are able to get good telemetry, assuming we make it that far into the ascent, then of course those will be available
dark side of the
stream.
Rocket. That's all of the
and also worth mentioning today,
the thermal tiles
the
ready
whole,
for
just getting the vehicle off the pad is a complex endeavor. We are going to be trying to reduce complexity by attempting those hard water landings instead of trying a normal landing like you're used to on Falcon 9.
Exactly. We are not attempting to recover these vehicles, so yeah, hard landings in store for both.
So total disposable vehicle.
In a little bit, we'll take a closer look at the vehicle and the launch pad. But first, the teams have been doing a tremendous amount of work over the last few months. In fact, there's a great shot of
there's the old that's in Florida, I believe.
To watch the launch.
I suspect there's going to be a lot of cheering from those guys.
The last few days, especially to try to get in today's launch attempt.
And here you can see a live view of the South Padre Amphitheater, where both SpaceX employees, friends and family, and members of the public are gathering to watch Starship lift off. And we can see the crowds are gathering there as well. And of course, we want to give a shout out to the SpaceX team. You see them there on screen, members of our launch command.
Chugging back the Red Bull. I suspect it's been a busy week for those guys.
Starbase Launch Control Center.
Yep, those are the operators today who are going to be reviewing all the data and, of course, giving us the go, no go poll, checking the status to try to get in today's launch attempt just around 20 minutes.
So I think if it works, generally,
I do want to mention,
from what I understand, is that those sort of big bars that are coming out, they're called the chopsticks, that would catch the bottom part of the rocket
your screen is made
as it came into re-entry.
Stainless steel. When it's stacked, it stands about 120 meters tall. It's about 9 meters around. And we have this awesome video that shows you just how big that is. You can see one of our technicians there doing some final prep work in advance of today's test. And man, there's the 120-meter monster.
That's not a live view. That can't be a live view.
Now, just like Falcon 9, Starship has 2 stages, which we'll talk more about those in a minute.
That guy's mental if he's there.
In addition to those 2 stages, Starship actually has a 3rd stage, which we call Stage 0. It consists of all the launch pad infrastructure built around the rocket, as you can see there on your screen, and it's truly an engineering feat in its own right.
Yeah, we've got a great shot there of the various different components of it. The pad, the infrastructure, all that is required to get into filling the tanks. Now, let's talk about the Super Heavy. Its name says everything. It's super,
that's the base bit,
heavy,
the super
it's
heavy.
super heavy. When it's operational, it'll be responsible for providing the power to escape that mighty gravitational pull of Earth that we've got here and take Starship into orbit.
The booster itself stands about 70 meters tall and is roughly the same height as a fully integrated Falcon 9, which is just so crazy to me. But this Super Heavy booster has a diameter roughly 2.5 times that of Falcon 9, and with 33
Raptor
much
engines
larger
underneath it.
engines. We have a beautiful view here. This is one of my favorite views that we're going to get today. Those are our 33 Raptor engines at the base of the Super Heavy booster.
Yep, and you can see they're in a couple of different rings here. So we've got the outer ring of 20 static engines. They're going to be providing a huge amount of thrust today to lift off the entire stack. But then we've got the 13 gimbaling engines in the middle, and they're going to be providing the tilt maneuvers and also helping to reorient the booster as it comes back later in today's flight.
Actually, when they did the countdown, you see all of that move later, which is phenomenal.
Wiggling the engines a few degrees and in either direction to allow the booster to steer itself, just as you said, Shiva.
And we'll get some great shots later of actually a wiggle test that we perform ahead of liftoff, just to make sure that all of those engines are able to control their full range of control authority.
One thing to note, those Raptor engines are completely designed and manufactured in-house. They are, as many of you know that have been following along, they are a reusable methane oxygen staged combustion type engine. So it's a lot of words there. And ultimately, that staged combustion means that we combust the propellant in stages that we kind of pre-combust them in a pre-burner, and by doing so, it allows the engine to be more efficient, i.e. more powerful.
Yeah. Now,
so those frosty stages there, I'm pretty sure is where the propellant has been loaded in. I think the methane is at the bottom and the oxygen is at the top. Because obviously going into outer space, there's no oxygen, and they still need that
Super Heavy is not
to
going to be
burn.
attempting a land landing today. But with this flight test, we're still trying to get as much data as we can. We're focusing on the fundamental systems and operations. So that's
I'm surprised they're not trying to land the top part.
We are going to try to get some
I
data
can
on
understand
how
the bottom
work
part,
for that
part of
water
vehicle that's
landing
never been
Super Heavy's
tested
going to be
before.
making after
But they know they can land
I
the
love
top
that
part.
great view of the fins there. Now, Starship, or the spacecraft, is the second stage, and it makes up the top portion of the vehicle. It's designed for carrying passengers and cargo to Earth orbit and beyond.
How are we doing online,
about
guys? Are
50
you with me?
meters tall, which is a little taller than the Statue of Liberty. It's comprised of 6 Raptor engines, 3 sea level and 3 vacuum engines.
I'm hoping they'll show
which
this
are
nice
optimized
shot
to
where they show
operate
the
in vacuum of space,
the
and
top
they
of the
provide
Super
a
Heavy and the
maximum
bottom of the Starship.
258,000 tons of thrust in vacuum. Spacecraft is also outfitted with 4 flaps to help aerodynamically control the vehicle's attitude, which you can see those 2 forward flaps there on your screen now. So they help control the vehicle's attitude during atmospheric flight and enable precise landing at the intended location. Now, one thing we got to mention, the heat shields. They are iconic.
Yeah.
Starship is wrapped in a heat shield, which is composed of 18,000 hexagonal ceramic tiles designed to insulate the vehicle during that atmospheric entry. And that's really important because the temperatures can be as high as 2,600 degrees Fahrenheit. The hex-shaped tiles, like the ones that Shiva and I have, roughly make up about 2/3 of the vehicle. We can see that we have some different shapes. Mine is slightly curved. As you can imagine, it sits on the curved portions of the Starship vehicle.
Now, the one that I've got is a hexagonal tile that's more flat, and it's really used for the flatter structures on the vehicle. And we need a heat shield because when you're coming back in from re-entry, we're going supersonic, we're compressing all the air ahead of us. That ends up causing a lot of heating along the surface, and without a heat shield, that would go straight into the structure.
Yeah, one thing that's amazing to me, especially when I first picked up one of these heat shield tiles, is that they're so light. They almost feel like they're made out of foam. They're that light, and they kind of
they ever
sound
considered
like it,
using
too.
aerogel
one
or
thing
something
that
like
we
that,
do want to mention, in order to reject the maximum amount of heat during that entry, like Shiva was just saying, they're black, and that's because black helps reject that heat that is building up on the exterior of the heat shield.
Now, Starship is designed for vertical takeoff and landing as opposed to taking off and landing like an airplane, and that's because that's really important because we don't have runways on the moon or Mars. Fortunately, at those destinations, the gravity is
is
not
like
as high as it is here on Earth.
almost complete
On Mars,
script
the gravity is
rerun
just
from what they were
1/3
saying
what it is here
on the
Earth,
Monday
and on the Moon,
attempt.
it's just a sixth. So in both of those cases, Starship, with just its engines, can take off without needing the super heavy booster like we do need here on planet Earth.
Now, for today's test, Starship does not have its landing legs attached because, like we said before, it won't be returning anywhere. Starship is expected to make a very hard ocean landing, which, if we even make it that far and manage to get any views, it will certainly make for a very exciting end to today's test. At
So
this
we're coming
point
up to
in
the
time,
20-minute
we
mark,
are,
everybody.
20 minutes, or just over 20 minutes from liftoff. Let's check in with John Innsbrucker for a status update. Hey, John, how's it looking?
Thanks, Kate.
So it is very exciting. You know, you can see this vehicle just being filled up by the methane and the oxygen, and it's gonna be phenomenal if this thing takes off. It'll be phenomenal if it explodes. But you know, for the sake of there we go.
And that's at a temperature of just over
listen to this for a
100
second.
kelvins. That's about minus 272 degrees below zero on the Fahrenheit scale. Now, liquid methane is a different fuel from Falcon 9. That booster uses RP1 kerosene. However, our oxidizer is liquid oxygen, and that's the same as Falcon 9. Because there is no oxygen in space to support combustion, we have to bring our own. Now, leading up to where we are right now, we had a go-no-go poll. That was conducted just after T-minus 2 hours, and once the team gave their goes, we started loading propellants onto the booster at T-minus 1 hour.
Yeah, I'm glad the weather is
39
good
minutes.
as well. We'll get a good view.
At T-minus 1 hour and 22 minutes, we began propellant loading of the ship. The second stage you can see on your screen right
If you're on the stream, just let me know if the audio is working okay and the visuals.
Main tanks completed at about the T-minus 27-minute mark.
This is actually being pushed through a Starlink connection, actually. So
in the nose of the
I'm
second
hoping
stage.
that it's reasonable for
Now,
you guys to
3 minutes,
watch.
when the first stage super heavy propellant loading completes, that means we'll have all the propellant on the rocket, and the vehicle will be fully loaded with over 10 million pounds of propellant. Now, right now, at T-minus 19 minutes and counting from liftoff, the weather and winds are looking good. We have been watching the ground level winds. They're at 18 miles an hour. As the morning continues, they will increase, but that is below our limits right now. We're also looking at upper altitude winds. We're waiting for one more balloon, but we believe that we're going to be go.
Okay.
On the launch vehicle itself, the teams, the good news, they're not working any issues right now. But if for some reason we do not make our test flight today, if we have to hold, we have a backup launch window. However, we're not sure when it would be. It could be 24 or 48 hours after today.
Yeah.
It'll depend on how far we get into the countdown. But right now, heading for a T0 at 8:28
I'm really
Central,
hoping they do
13:28 Universal Time. Kate, everything
take off
is looking
today.
good.
Awesome news.
I'll tell you why,
Now,
because
in
if
order
48
to
hours
make
is
life
on Sunday, and I'm
multiplanetary, we need a
flying to
fully
Atlanta
reusable
over the
vehicle
weekend.
that's capable of carrying a huge amount of
so I
cargo
really don't
and
wanna
a lot
miss
of
it.
people to orbit
Although,
and have
I'm
a pretty
hoping
quick
that
turnaround.
there'll be internet on the
idea
aircraft.
is to effectively reuse launch vehicles just like airplanes.
Yeah, imagine if you had to wait for a new airplane to be constructed
No,
every
that's
time
been
you
Elon
wanted
Musk's
to fly.
argument.
You'd rarely go anywhere, and for most of us, it would be completely unaffordable. In order for us to get to Mars and back with lots of people, lots of cargo, multiple times, reusability really is a must.
I mean, in the 1930s and 40s, their air flight was so expensive, it was only for the elite
both
few.
cargo and people,
Just
starting with
imagine in
Earth
our
orbit
lifetime
and
that it
eventually
might become
expanding to
affordable
the moon
for the
and
likes
beyond.
of me
Now,
and
in
you.
the near term and a bit closer to home, Starship will also be critical to other programs. Once fully operational, it'll deliver the full-size and upgraded version of our Starlink satellites, and that's super exciting
I'm looking
because
forward
our
to that.
next-generation
That's gonna
satellites
be even
represent
faster
a
internet
step
for me.
forward in Starlink's capabilities and will allow us to connect millions of more people around the world with high-speed internet to watch webcasts.
Such an exciting future ahead of us. But first, let's talk a little about how we got to where we are today.
Now, Starship's testing ramped up in July of 2019 with our Starhopper prototype, sort of a short version of the Starship.
Now, I know
that
you
see
can go
today.
and
There's a
visit
great
the site.
photo of
That's
it.
what the
It was
unusual
just
thing
over
about
18 meters tall.
this starport
It had a
is you can
single
get so
Raptor
close to
engine, and we had it to test fly and perform low-level altitude maneuvers and attempt landing. The initial test flight or hop reached about 20 meters in altitude. That was followed by the one that you've got on your screen here. This was our 150-meter altitude hop. We went up, took a little jaunt away, about 100 meters or so away from the launch pad, used that Raptor engine to fly and actually land. And actually, this hopper is actually down at Starbase now.
Yeah, I love this shot.
And they've got a whole load of
fun
scientific
After a series of 150-meter hop tests with earlier prototypes, the Starship program saw a major breakthrough during a test flight of the vehicle known as serial number 8, or SN8. You can see it there on your screen now. In December 2020, SN8 demonstrated a first-of-its-kind controlled aerodynamic descent and landing flip.
The explosion was phenomenal.
2 words, belly flop. The SN8 prototype rose to an altitude of 12.5 kilometers or 7.8 miles and conducted a belly flop maneuver, which you see there, during its descent. While it didn't stick the landing, the test was a major milestone in the development of Starship. In fact,
that's the interesting thing about the
unfortunately failed landing. Boom. It was fun to watch, though.
Rapid unscheduled disassembly, but learned a lot of data. Now, the testing continued on to prototype serial number 9. It took a 10-kilometer flight. That's about 6.2 miles up. In February of 2021, we had a nominal ascent. We executed the engine cutoffs once we got to the top of the altitude window. We did that belly flop maneuver, which is so much more fun to say than controlled descent, aerodynamic maneuver.
Imagine being a passenger on that. So you're belly flopping down, and then suddenly, 100 feet or 200 feet off ground, it flips around like that. And that's the big difference, I think, by the Falcon 9. Falcon 9 comes in. Look at that.
How much we learned just between serial numbers 8 and 9, and how quickly we were able to achieve our
third one that landed
in those 2 flights. In addition to that, we got so much data that demonstrated control of the vehicle in that subsonic regime.
Ultimately, we performed 9 Starship high-altitude test flights in total. And then, as you see on your screen there, in May of 2021, SN15 launched from Starbase, reached an altitude of about 10 kilometers, performed a number of maneuvers, and safely returned to the launch site. This was
Didn't one of them land and then blow up?
To fly, control its
descent,
safely land, and be recovered in one piece.
And people were cheering like crazy after that test flight. Now, having achieved those successes in our suborbital campaign, one of the next big challenges is for the upper stage when it comes to reusability and surviving the hypersonic, really high heating phase of entry. Combined with the later ability to refill Starship's tank with propellants, the fuel and oxygen, while we're on orbit, that will enable us to have a fully reusable transportation system that's designed to carry both crew and cargo on long-duration missions, interplanetary flights, and will help humanity get to the moon, travel to Mars, and beyond in our solar system.
This is all just basically our path of progress, basically an iteration on each vehicle. And that iterative process is a core part of how we work here at SpaceX. We like to test early and often, publicly as well, in our case.
That's an amazing site. I'm assuming these are drones. I can't imagine that they would fly a helicopter that close.
Much from it, and it informs our next attempt.
Yeah, we learn a lot from actually putting the vehicle through flight-like tests. Even the test on Monday gave us an opportunity to learn more about the vehicle into today's launch attempt, and so far things are looking really good. Now, we are continuing into our countdown.
So it was about this time where they started to realize there was an issue.
For another check-in with John Insparker.
Let's see if there's a problem.
Well, Shiva, the good news is that the nets are quiet. The teams are currently working. No significant launch vehicle issues.
Fantastic.
You can see the T clock there on your screen. T-minus 12 minutes, 10 seconds, and counting.
I've got a feeling it's going to go.
Loading is continuing on both the Super Heavy and the ship stages. You can see the graphic on the left-hand side of the screen. Most recently, we began loading liquid oxygen and liquid methane fuel into the header tanks on Starship. Those are 2 small tanks just underneath the nose of the second stage.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that started at T-minus 27 minutes. That'll be wrapping up at about that will be wrapping up about T-minus 9 minutes. Now, the Starship second stage main fuel and LOX tanks are loaded for flight right now. The Super Heavy first stage
see those
booster propellant
percentages
loading
rising.
is continuing, and that'll go till about T-minus 3 minutes. We're underway with engine chill as we get ready for T0, and we're also configuring the launch pad for liftoff. The booster hold downs have been unlatched.
Oh,
They'll
we're
be
so
ready to
close,
retract
people.
at liftoff. And the second stage
This
quick
thing's gonna
disconnect
go. This
is
thing's gonna
beginning
go.
its configuration for release. The methane and liquid oxygen propellants currently going to the second stage go through that quick disconnect. That's that arm that reaches out from the tower to the base of the second stage. The SpaceX team continues to check in with the Coast Guard. Good news is we've not heard any reports of boats in the safety perimeter.
Oh, that's good
As
news.
the launch vehicle heads out over the Gulf of Mexico. So right now, T-minus 10 minutes, 40 seconds, and counting. Everything continues to go well for an on-time launch.
Now, today's test flight is taking place out of our Starbase facility in South Texas, and that test site has gone through a huge amount of development over the last couple of years.
One thing I want to point out, this is a great view from our drone. Not only can we see the pad, but in the fog, kind of in the distance, in the background and to the left of the pad, you can actually see our production facility, which is the other part of
how
Starbase
far that is
in
away.
addition to the launch pad.
Of course, as part of rapidly iterating with our test program, we're also rapidly iterating on our production system to produce Starships and Super Heavies. Last year, the Starbase team produced 4 Starship Super Heavy boosters and 5 Starships, along with their 200th Raptor 2 engine, and they're only scaling up from there, Kate.
Yeah, it's
So if you
incredible
just joined the
to
stream,
think
great
that
to have
for
you here.
2023,
My name is Wayne Hackman,
production
and this
has
is
5
just me
boosters and 8
documenting
Starships going. So it's incredible, and it's important to have
an
that
important
system
moment in
built,
my life watching the
in
biggest
basically
rocket launch
the manufacturing line, so that we have product ready to
human
go
history.
as soon as we're done with this test.
Yeah, exactly. And ultimately, I mean, we talked about how Starship is an order of magnitude.
If you just tuned
more
in,
propellant,
everything seems to be good. There are
payload
no errors,
to
no
orbit.
problems.
But if you're going to go
And
set
about
up
this
base
time
on the
last,
Moon or Mars, you're gonna
earlier
need
in the week when they
thousands
were
of
doing
metric
this,
tons
they
of
kind
propellant,
of
so
knew
you're
they
gonna
had a
need fleet of vehicles
pressurization
that's capable of
issue,
doing that.
and they called it about
One thing to note, Starbase
7
directly
minutes.
employs more than 1,800 employees.
They ran the clock out to about
it's the
minus
largest
10, 20
employer in
seconds,
the area, in
and they
fact.
just used it as a wet
And
dress
we're
rehearsal.
very thankful to Cameron County for being so supportive. This is a view from the Cameron County Amphitheater.
I don't know if you're excited, but I certainly
there's a
am.
crowd there, and you could tell by the energy here in Hawthorne as well that everyone's getting really exciting. I feel my own heart rate going up and up.
I know.
I've always wanted to live near a spaceport and get a boat, and then you can just go sit out in the ocean and watch
You're
it.
feel it down there.
One day.
When this thing lifts off from the pad. We've actually got a great shot here of the natural surroundings around the pad. Oddly enough, most of the pads end up being around.
Let me know what you're
sort of,
thinking on the
wild
chat.
locations like this. Wild locations like this. But coming up on T-minus 8 minutes, I think it's another good time for check-in with John.
Okay, John, tell us everything is good.
Thank you, Shiva. T-minus just over 8 minutes to the first test flight of Starship. Currently, we are pressurizing second stage. We are also closing out liquid oxygen and fuel header loads on the second stage. We're also getting ready for propellant load tank pressurization on the first stage. In fact, we are just now closing out header tank load on the second stage.
So if you just joined the stream, I think it's exciting because
to finish loading,
it's looking very, very promising, people.
T-minus 3 minutes.
Very, very
And
promising.
at that point, when both stages are loaded, we will have the 10 million pounds of liquid propellant on board.
Now, if that's suddenly all ignited in one go, that would be a hell of an explosion.
For flight during a quiet period when the rocket's not doing anything. The automated flight termination system will be armed, and a final TVC checkout will be performed. Those are the engine wiggles, and hopefully we'll be able to see that with the cameras underneath the vehicle.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Even the second stage engines.
There we go.
There's
Last
a
time they
view
showed us
looking
that sort of central
the
ring and
Super Heavy
those 3
first stage with
engines
the
in the
33
middle
Raptor
moved
engines.
around, and I guess that's how they
Now,
maneuver
reminder,
this
as we continue counting
beast
down,
as
if
it
we
goes
do
off
need
to get it
hold
on the right.
the point where we hold
There's
the
some
clock would be at
cheering, so that's
T-minus
suggesting
40 seconds.
things are good.
We can pause there. Typically in the past, if we need a little bit more time to finish final checkouts, or do some pressurization of the onboard storage tanks, that's where we would hold.
I've got my speakers
But
here
currently, we're
cranked
not
up to the
hearing
full.
a
I want
need
to
to
feel
hold.
the experience of the
So
noise.
it's 6 minutes,
Well, I have
27
no idea what
seconds.
this is going to
Everything
sound
looks
like.
good. And of course, Kate Shiva, as we get close, we're going to get into the engine ignition sequence of 33 Raptors, and that's going to be something new for everybody.
I cannot wait for that moment. So, for those of you that are familiar with
See,
how we launch
I know they
Falcon
put a
9
huge amount of
rockets, you probably
protection
know
on
that
that
we
base
light all
section,
9 of
but
those first stage
sheesh,
Merlin
that
1D
thrust.
engines all at once. It's pretty different than what we do, or what we're attempting to do today. We're actually going to be igniting those 33 engines in banks or clusters, and that sequence starts at T-minus 6 seconds.
Yeah, and the ignition sequence is a little bit different, both in terms of the timing
see
and
those
also
engines
the
chilling
ignition
down now.
method. So on Falcon 9, we use a chemical called T-Tab. It's a pyrophoric material, so that means when you mix the two together, it produces a flame that kicks off that green characteristic spark on Falcon 9 missions. But actually on Starship, we use electrical ignition systems. Many of those are integrated on the ground system here. And the electrical ignition, we start lighting the banks at T-minus 6 seconds, and then over the next 4 seconds, the 3 sets of banks will ignite and eventually bring the booster
All right,
up
so we'll
to
know
a thrust
about-
to weight greater than 1 and hopefully ascent.
Super exciting.
6 seconds,
like you
we'll
said,
start to see
pretty
some...
different from our Falcon 9 launches, and so this will be the first time that any of us have gotten to see this type of integrated test flight with both the Starship and the Super Heavy.
Oh, there's another cheer, which suggests good things are happening.
As we get into T-minus 5 minutes.
We want to remind everyone that
I think they knew at this point they were going to pull it on Monday.
It looks fun down there. I kind of want to go join them.
for today, success is anything that we learn.
So I think they knew at this point they were going to pull it. So there's no suggestion that this is going to not happen. I think this is going. We're either going to see a huge fireball, or we're going to see it launch. And there's no reason why it's going to be a fireball. Certainly on the ground.
The booster where that methane is fully topped up. I think we're just coming up
Had
on
a
the
message
last few
from my
minutes here
friend
of
who's
propellant
watching this in
fill
the
on
UK.
booster.
We are getting close.
Electric disconnect is going to separate away as we actually get into
They
the
don't.
ignition sequence.
There seems
but
to
it's
be no
providing
suggestion that
electrical
this is not going to
connections
happen.
and also providing the propellants that we're loading into the vehicle.
Yeah. We're just now under 4 minutes until liftoff.
I'm really
the Starship
excited.
Flight test. We've been following along for what honestly seems like days and days now, but really it kind of comes down to years. It
So
has
thanks
been a
for
long
hanging
time
out with me,
to
guys.
get
We've been
to where
streaming
we
for the
are
last
today.
50 minutes almost.
Now, fast forwarding a little bit.
Oh, there's a nice long shot there.
Have the opportunity to hold, if necessary, at 40
No
seconds.
hold today, guys.
And we are able to hold
Give us a
there
show.
for about 15 minutes, or up to 15 minutes, and still be able to lift off.
Yeah, and that's a little bit different from Falcon.
A friend of mine just said,
for
"It'd be
the
funny if it steered off
propellant
course and
sequence
landed
on
in North
Falcon.
Korea." Let's hope not.
We don't
Want the North Koreans getting their hands on this technology. Certainly not yet, anyway.
Right now, T-minus 3 minutes, 10 seconds and counting. We got some great views from the drone.
Look at this.
It's nice that the fog is slowly lifting. We get some of the blue skies, hopefully good views.
If you're wondering
What
why
we're
I'm looking
waiting
down
for
that
right
way, the
now
screen
is
that I've
closeout
got the
of
screen down
propellant
here
loading on the first
is doing
stage.
it.
That should be wrapping up
Which is
here
showing it all
shortly.
to me.
In fact, it looks like
So you get a
fuel
side
fill
shot
and
of me
drain
on
valves
the
are
stream, so
coming
sorry
close.
about that. But
That
the
means
real
first
focus
stage
is whether this
fully
thing is
loaded.
going to take off.
Second stage fully
And it's
loaded.
looking very
At
promising.
10 million pounds of propellant on board the Starship launch vehicle.
I want to take a quick moment to say that the crowd energy here is electric. I feel like it's Falcon Heavy test demo all over again.
Yeah, this is
And hopefully
the
you'll
next
hear
level.
us as we
From
get
putting
into the
17
plus count.
tons
Right
into
now,
outer
next
space
activities
to
coming up.
150 to 200 tons in outer space. This is a game changer, guys. If this goes off. Sheesh.
And after that, major activity will be the T-minus 40-second gate.
Wow.
There's a
look
view
at
looking
those.
up at the 33 Raptor
Now, somewhere,
engines.
at some point, they kind of
There are 20
gimbal
engines
around.
in a
So they do
circle
a
on the
test. Now, I
outside.
don't know when they do
As
that.
Shiva said earlier, 13 engines on the center. Those are the ones that gimbal and steer the vehicle.
So that cheer, I wonder what that cheer is for. Maybe they're slightly ahead in the stream than us. Are we going to see that gimbal take place? Oh, no, they're just reacting for the camera.
So excited for TBC wiggles.
can't imagine anything
Love this
underneath
view.
those
These are
rockets.
33 Raptor engines at the base of the super heavy
It surprises
booster.
me that this seems.
I think
Oh
we
look!
can
Oh,
see those
they're doing the
wiggles
gimbal. Do you see that? That's amazing.
We're currently inside 90 seconds. Next major activity, T-minus 40 seconds. That is a
T-minus
gate,
40
decision
seconds,
point.
okay.
We're waiting. Possibility the propulsion team may need a few minutes.
No, no. Come on, guys. You can do it.
Flight termination system is armed for flight. We're getting ready for T-minus
It's so
1 minute and
close.
counting. Nice.
So close.
1 minute and counting.
I saw a rocket launch last summer. It was only a Falcon 9. We're about 20 kilometers
Next, we'll
away,
see
so
past T-minus 40 seconds for final checks of the vehicle.
if you are on the ground watching this, I can't imagine what it's going to feel like. There's more cheering going on, which is suggesting that things are going right. We've got 30 seconds to go. 30 seconds to go. They knew. They paused the. Oh, they've added. Oh, they've added some time. Okay, now we have 30 seconds. So they added some time to the clock.
You can see the clock is recycled.
Oh, they reset it again.
Flight director has called a hold.
Oh no!
We're recycling.
Why?
For the moment, we'll see where they move the clock back to. They could hold at T-minus 40 seconds. They
Sheesh.
could go to an earlier
Oh
point.
my goodness!
Give us a minute to listen into the nets, and we'll see if we can get you more
So
information.
why are
to
they
share.
on a hold? Why are they on a hold? If you've just joined the stream, everything has been going really, really well, and then suddenly the clock has stopped. They added some time. You saw the clock disappear, so they're obviously working out. I don't know if that's just because they just need a few more seconds to make sure that this works. Everything was going swimmingly. Everything was going swimmingly. So I have no idea why they've held it. No idea. And of course, countdown hold for final launch checks. Okay, so it sounds like they're gonna launch it. Excuse my coughing there. Okay, this is a good opportunity. If you are on the stream, say hello. Let me know how you are feeling. Thank you for joining me watching the SpaceX, and I take no credit for any of the video footage you're seeing here. This is all SpaceX, and earlier on I tuned into a website before the SpaceX started doing their stream. Everything has gone quiet, guys. The countdown is being held. You can just hear the kind of roar of the pumps, I guess, and things like that. Wow. It's like there's been commentary up until the clock changed, and then it's deathly silence. What? Why? That's the heat shield side of the spaceship, or Starship rather. So this whole rig is being sacrificed. So that top part is going to have a hard landing somewhere near Hawaii, and the base bit, the super heavy part, will have a hard landing somewhere, I'm assuming, in the Gulf of Mexico. Now they've said after launch we're not going to be able to see those, which is a shame. I would love to have seen a landing. And this is, I am surprised they're not.
Again here at the Hawthorne webcast.
Okay, what's
desk.
the update?
We're holding a T-minus 40 seconds.
Okay.
What we've heard so far is we have a couple of issues we're working. One is the booster tank pressurization. Final pressurization was just a little bit long. That's not unusual. We've held a T-minus 40 seconds before to pressurize. That appears to
I guess they want to make sure they have all the propellant.
Same time on the second stage, they're working some final purging. We should know very shortly if that is cleared and if we'll continue.
Oh, there's a cheer. Oh.
Everyone, especially that person, is excited to keep going.
I think
Like
the
John said,
guys
we should know
on
shortly,
SpaceX.
if we are able to continue.
I think
but
they've
as we
got this
mentioned
stream
before,
slightly
we are
before
able
us,
to
I think.
hold, up to 15
Seems to
minutes
be they're
and still
reacting
be able to lift off today.
Up to 15
Yeah,
minutes,
on
guys.
Falcon 9, it's a little bit different. Once
tell
we
you
start
what, it's
propellant
almost time for a
loading,
beer.
we pretty
I
much have
might,
to go at
if
the
they hold it
targeted
for 15
time,
minutes.
Otherwise, the propellants can warm up, and we
Might
may
have to
not
go
have
get
the
myself a
performance of
beverage.
particular mission profile. It's a little bit different on
And
Starship.
folks,
Oh,
if I can interrupt,
and folks,
it looks like they're clearing all the flags. And we're going to release at T-minus 40 seconds.
Oh, 40
is
seconds,
amazing
guys.
news.
Amazing.
So it looks like everything's a go.
Through their issues on first and second stages.
You've just joined the stream. They've paused the clock. It should have launched by now.
Simulations that they've
had some tank pressurization issues, and
to try to get us.
I guess they just want to make sure they have enough propellant aboard. They obviously don't want to launch this
For those
thing.
of you just joining, we have a brief hold at the T-minus 40 second
she'll explain it better.
The team is resolving one issue with the bleed purge on the Stage 2 Raptors. Like John just said, the teams are quickly working that, and it looks like the flags are being cleared as we speak. So we should be able to resume the launch countdown any moment now.
40-second countdown.
And it's worth
so
noting
we'll resume
on
at 40
Starship
seconds.
once we resume the countdown, it restarts from the 40-second period, and then we keep going unless another condition pops up. So stick around, because Starship could be going here real soon.
40 seconds, guys, when the clock starts again.
Don't walk away, that's for sure. Amazing views here coming to us from Starbase, Texas.
There's a big cheer. So that suggests it seems like the people at SpaceX are slightly ahead of the stream that we're watching. 30 seconds to go. This is very exciting. I think it's going to go, guys. I think it's going to go. I'm very excited. Oh, we're into the last 15 seconds. This thing. Oh, let's hope no explosion, but a good launch. Here it goes, guys. Oh my word! It's gonna launch. Oh, look at it go! Oh wow! That's unbelievable. Sheesh! It's taking off, guys. It's off the ground. 15 seconds. Oh, it looks like they've got 3 boosters not working. It's off the ground, people.
Booster upper chamber pressure is nominal.
It's going.
33 seconds into the test flight of the inaugural Starship.
That's amazing.
Tower cleared. We're into pitch over.
If you look down on the bottom.
What a sight from the ground cameras
Wow.
at Starbase. We're flying at twice the thrust of the Saturn V heading to space.
Wow. Okay, so the next step, we're going to see the separation. So it's an altitude of 4 kilometers at the moment. Look at that. It does look like some of those rockets didn't light.
Going through the period of maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Yeah, you can see that not all of those engines lit for some reason. But I know that
velocity increases. The density
wow, I wonder why that is.
Lessening stress.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4 engines that have not lit. Look at that picture. It's happening, people.
Continuing to watch the first stage.
So if anything, he knows that he can get this off the ground. 12 kilometers high now. I don't know if those 4 engines or 5 engines that haven't lit is going to be an issue. I know the idea of having so many of those little engines means that
the first stage. The Houston tracking station now
so 17 kilometers now.
With shutdown, we will get separation of Starship and Super Heavy and ignition of the Starship engines. When Starship separates, we light up 6 engines in a staggered sequence. And if all goes well, those 6 engines will burn for almost 6.5 minutes. Onboard view from Starship.
Wow, look at that. Okay, we're going to see the separation. Of the
Raptor engines on the second stage.
So they're up to 27 kilometers now.
Now, after stage separation, the first stage will flip and begin a boost back maneuver for landing in the Gulf.
Is it going to separate? Okay, so that's. At what point does it separate?
Continuing to fly. 2 minutes 40 seconds. Let's get ready for main engine cutoff.
Okay. So.
Booster engine cutoff.
What's going on? Oh. That doesn't look good. Or is that just... Is that spinning out of control? Is that just poor camera shooting? Or is that spinning out of control? Sheesh. That doesn't look good. That doesn't look good at all. Okay, seems to have got itself stable again.
As of right now, we are awaiting stage separation. Where Starship should
It's not looking good, guys.
The super heavy booster.
That's really not looking good.
Right now, it looks like
they're really struggling to try and keep this in.
Obviously, we're seeing from the ground cameras the entire Starship stack continuing to rotate. We should have had separation by now. Obviously, this is does not appear to be a nominal situation.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it does appear to be spinning, but I do want to remind everyone that everything after clearing the tower was icing on the cake.
Oh, what happened there? It's a rapid disassembly. Oh my goodness, it exploded in outer space.
As you saw,
oh my goodness.
Starship inaugural integrated test.
Wow. Okay, so they got it to over 30 kilometers high. And they lost control of it. I think
everyone here
it was
absolutely pumped to clear the pad and make it this
it
far
cleared
into
the pad.
test flight. The first
Wow. Some
flight
rapid
of the booster
disassembly, as they call it, or
Starship
basically
vehicle.
exploded in outer space.
Live view there of our control center.
Where Elon
at
Musk is right there.
Which we refer to as Star Command.
Wow.
As we said before,
Exploded, guys.
Make it
Wow.
all the way through, but to get this far, honestly, is amazing.
Well, if you're just joining us, Starship just experienced what we call a rapid unscheduled disassembly, or a RUD, during ascent. But now this was a development test. This is the first test flight of Starship, and the goal was to gather the data, and as we said, clear the pad and get ready to go again. So you never know exactly what's going to happen, but as we know, excitement is guaranteed. And Starship gave us a rather spectacular
There you go.
What was truly an incredible test thus far.
Now, as we mentioned at the start of today's program, any and all the data that we collected during the test is going to help us with further development of Starship, and it's going to improve the vehicle's reliability as SpaceX seeks to make life multiplanetary. It's really worth noting that the flight path was designed to be over water and all the air and sea space.
Oh, wow, guys.
With that flight path and those surrounding areas were cleared in advance of the test.
So,
and of course, we're going to be coordinating with local authorities for the recovery operations.
But honestly, what an exciting
Let's
morning.
hope that there is
gosh.
no boats
We
underneath
had
that
a
when it
successful
comes
liftoff
down.
From Starbase, Texas at 8:28 a.m. Central Time.
Sheesh.
We cleared the tower.
They
Which
cleared the tower.
honestly
Amazing.
was
They got
our
up to 30
only hope.
kilometers.
We cleared the tower.
All right.
and all
I
the
think
data that we
we've heard
collected
enough
all
from
the
the
way
SpaceX
through,
here. Wow, guys, that was quite something. I don't know if you were watching with me. It launched. It got up to 30 kilometers high. And then the whole spaceship, I think when they just got to the point where there was supposed to be some form of stage separation, the whole ship started to gimbal around, and I think they were desperately trying to see if they could save it, and they didn't. And so then the whole thing exploded. But it's certainly an achievement. They got it into up to 30 kilometers high. I don't know where the Kármán line is. I'm not too sure if they got it into outer space, I'll have to go and do my research on that one, guys. I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. I've basically did this to document the first launch of the Super Heavy and Starship, and hopefully next time I'll be able to do this. I'm not working or something like that. I can do a live stream. You can come back and follow this with me, guys. I really, really appreciate all of your efforts hanging out with me today, guys. Just leaves me to say, have a wonderful weekend, and stay safe, everybody. Take care, and goodbye.